What's the best Buffalo Trace product on my shelf? Let's find out. What is going on, everybody? Nathan here with the Everyday Drinker, bringing you guys a brand new video. Today we have 16 different Buffalo Trace products poured here in front of us blind. We have absolutely no idea which is which. We're gonna rank these off of the nose and the palate, and we're gonna see which out of the 16 Buffalo Trace products on my shelf is the best. So you're probably wondering, what 16 bottles of Buffalo Trace do I have in the ranking? And let's find out right now. So in the ranking, we have Blantons, we have Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, Stagg Jr, E.H. Taylor Single Barrel, E.H. Taylor Small Batch, E.H. Taylor Rye, Weller Full Proof, Weller 12 Year, Weller 107, Weller Special Reserve, Buffalo Trace Kosher Wheat, Early Times Bottled in Bond, Benchmark Full Proof, Benchmark Single Barrel, and Sazerac Rye. You're probably wondering, why am I doing this to myself? Well, I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for science. I want to know right now what the best Buffalo Trace product is on my shelf, and I bet you are wondering as well. But before we start drinking, you yourself could have a bottle of Blantons. All you have to do is smash that subscribe button down below and enjoy the video. So without further ado, let's get into glass number one. So this is going to be super easy. We're going to tally up two different scores for each of these glasses and see which one is the best. We're going to tally up a score for the nose and a score for the palate, add those up to find out which one gets the highest score. And we're going to start here on our left. And glass one's nose is very sweet. It doesn't have anything that's super pungent in it. Smells like it's a little bit higher proofer. It's a little sweet, touch of caramel in there. I'm gonna give the nose a score of 7. Let's get on the palate of glass number one. The initial palate, it's a higher proofer. Very mellow on those flavor profiles though, for it being a higher proof. Touch of citrus, really pleasant, nice and sweet on there. Also going to give the palate a 7. Let's get into glass number 2 on the nose here. Glass 2's nose is a little bit weaker. Getting a little bit more of an oakiness present on this glass. It's a touch darker, a touch of chocolate in there. I'm gonna give the nose a 6. Let's get into the palate. Immediately going from 1 to 2. It's much lower in proof. Very watered down. It's still an enjoyable sip. It's got a little heat on that back end, but it's got a little bit of a bitterness on that tail end of the finish. So on the palate, I'm gonna give this one a 5. Glass number 3. This is just a warm, sweet vanilla, like a birthday cake in there. This smells really nice. I love that note in there. Touch of caramel. Nose is a 7. Let's get into the palate. So the palate is a little lackluster compared to how delicious that nose was. It's got a little heat on that back end for being a little bit lower proofer as well. And I get a little touch of bitterness on the back end of the finish, so I'm gonna have to give the palate a 5. Glass number 4. Cheers, guys. Let's get in the nose. Wow, that's so much warmer. It's a little bit more rich. It's like a demerara or sugar almost. Get a little bit of brown sugar in there. Touch of cinnamon spice. Almost has a candied orange on there too, which is really beautiful. This nose is an 8. Let's get into the palate. Palate does not follow suit to the nose. It's warmth and heat coming in. There's a touch of sweetness. It's got a little burn going down. Not very enjoyable off of that first sip. The palate is very lackluster. Very lackluster. I think we're gonna have to give the palate a 5. Let's get in the nose at glass 5. This has a mustiness to it. It's got a little bit of that mustiness on that back end. A little oak, a little dark chocolate. I get a little bit of like a very fresh espresso bean. A touch of cinnamon on there. That nose is very nice. We're gonna have to give the nose here a 7 as well. Let's get in the palate. That palate is very different. It is rich. It is pungent. It tastes like an old Bible. I like that a lot. It's very It tastes aged. It tastes a little older. That's a good pour. That's a really, really good pour. I'm gonna give that palate an 8. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure you smash that like button because, as I said, I'm doing this for science. I'm doing this for you guys so you don't have to do it yourself. And I'm 6 glasses in and we've got 10 to go. This smells like vanilla ice cream or vanilla icing. Like royal icing is so gosh darn sweet on the nose. Oh wow, that is delicious. But that's a 9. That nose is fantastic. It is a 9. I love that nose so much. And I mean, it comes into the palate. It's lacking in a couple of those things, whereas a couple of the other glasses had a little bit more prominent notes going for them. This is just sweet vanilla, very, very beautiful, but it doesn't have much as a backbone, whereas a couple other glasses did. So on the palate, I'm gonna have to give this glass a score of 5. Glass number 7. There's some orange notes in there, a touch of a cherry. I almost get a root beer out of this as well. It doesn't have anything screaming, wow, this is an amazing pour. I'm gonna have to give the nose a 6. Let's get in the palate, guys, cheers. Super, super thin, sweet, but just like water going down. Doesn't have much to offer other than this initial like lemony sweetness. It's a palate of 4. It's very, very lackluster. Doesn't have much going on for it whatsoever, so it's a palate of 4. And finally, we're on glass number 8. We have hit the halfway point. This is fun. I'm enjoying this like you wouldn't believe. Glass 8 has a little earthiness on that initial nose. Not finding much more from that. I almost get a little raisin on there too. Gonna have to give this nose a score of 7 because it's nice, it's different, it has a lot going on for it, but there's no prominent note that's sticking out very much. But everything that comes out of it, very, very nice. Everything is all about how it tastes. So cheers, guys. That raisin comes through on the palate. Also has a very, very grape soda-y note in there. From that raisin, it turns into a grapey soda. Very, very nice. Delicious, actually. That is an absolutely wonderful pour. I'm gonna have to give that a score of 7 on the palate. And we are on glass number 9. Let's see what this nose is all about. I get a little bit of summer melon off of this. Really interesting. A touch of vanilla, a little bit of like a butterscotch on there. I really like that. That's very nice. It's got a little oak presence coming off of there as well. But it doesn't have like anything that's wowza. Like I'm looking for that wowza pour at the moment. And the only wowza nose that I really, really liked, I think, was glass number 6 because of that just like very prominent, like brought me back to my childhood nose. And this is a little bit floral. It's a little dusty. It smells like it might be a little bit more aged. But it doesn't have, it has, I can smell a little like metallic note off of this. I'm gonna have to give this nose a 5. But without further ado, let's get into the palate. It's a very enjoyable sip. Don't let me tell you it's not. That is very enjoyable. A little bit more like water. It's definitely a lower proofer. It's probably one of those under 100 proof. But I really enjoy that pour. It's got some sweetness. It has a little bit of an oaky backbone to keep that structure in there. I like that pour a lot. I'm gonna give this a palate of 7. Glass number 10, we have finally hit double digits. This is one of the ryes for sure. For sure, one of the ryes. I get a lot of rye grain on this. Candied orange, touch of like a peach as well. I like that nose a lot. I'm gonna give that nose a score of 7. But let's get into the palate. It's got a nice oily mouthfeel. Coats your entire tongue. Really nice. Definitely like herbal, earthy, pine needles. I like that aspect from the rye. Really, really sweet. Like earthy sweet, really, really pleasant. No bitterness off of this whatsoever. I'm also going to give the palate a score of 7. We're on glass number 11, my lucky number. Let's see if this one can pull through. This one smells really hot. Getting a touch of a chocolatey, like coffee note, like a chocolate coffee, like a mocha. Really liking that so far. But it's like, the ethanol vapors are coming right out of that glass. Getting a touch of like a cherry, like a dark chocolate cherry on this. Nose is pleasant, but not like super like wowza. Gonna give it a score of 6. But the nose isn't where it's all at. Let's get on the palate and see if this thing can score a 10 out of 10. That is so sweet and fruit forward. Wow. It's definitely one of the higher proofers. It might be the highest proof. It might not be, but I'm gonna have to give this a score of 8 on the palate. Glass number 12, let's get into the nose. Oh, that is a beautiful nose. Strawberries. That's a creme brulee, almost like a caramelized sugar with berries on top. Very, very nice. I like this nose a lot. This is a really nice nose. I'm gonna have to give this nose an 8, but it's not all about smelling. Let's get in the palate. It's thinner, it's a lighter proof, but the flavors from the nose transpire into the palate, but they're not as prominent as they are in that nose, and it's a little bit lacking on the palate for being a little thinner and probably lower proof. So on the palate, I'm gonna have to give this a score of 6. Glass number 13. I think this might be a rye as well. This one has a lot of mint forward. It's just a punch of mint. There's a touch of like cedar bark in there as well. I also get this like salinity in this, but I like it. I like it a lot. Score for the nose is a 7. Let's get in the palate. It has that like initial like on your tongue. It's salty almost on your tongue, but that immediately goes away. And it turns into like a grape bubble gum, almost like a grape, like the grape Big League Chew, or like the grape, the very long like roll up bubble gum in a way. It's nice, but it's not my cup of tea. So I'm gonna give this a score of 5 on the palate. Glass 14, we are almost done this, and I gotta tell you, I'm definitely feeling it. Glass number 14, I cannot wait for this to be over. There's a vanilla note in this that's absolutely divine, but then you also have, it has a little bit of a chocolate structure in there as well. There's a touch of a bread note. I like that nose. I like that a lot. Nothing too far that way, nothing too far that way, nothing too far that way. But I have to give it a score. And I think for the nose score 7. Let's get on the palate. That's an enjoyable palate. It really is. It's got a lot of citrus notes coming off of there, like orange and lemon. I get a hint of cherry off of this as well. That is divine. I'm gonna give that a score of 7 on the palate as well. We're gonna have a lot of ties. I'm just realizing that. And we're gonna have to have a tiebreaker. Glass 15. A lot of these smell the same. Like, I know it's Buffalo Trace. Everything is aged in different warehouses and different areas and different proofs. And they hit the sun at a different angle. But a lot of them have the same nose. I'm trying to pick out different things from the nose from each glass, and it's getting harder. I'm getting a lot more ethanol vapor off of this nose, but it also has a beautiful like cherry cola, like a cherry Coke on the nose. but it doesn't have much after that. Gonna have to give it a nose of 6. And let's get into the palate. But the palate, wow, that is a really good palate. It's sweet. It's got a touch of like a honey in there. It's got a little bit of orange on that tail end coming in and then fades out very fast. And then I get a little bit of a herbal tea on there. Very nice. Palate score of 7. Last but not least, we have finally made it to glass number 16. That's right, 16 pours in a video. I don't know if I'm ever doing this many pours in a video again. Only way I will ever do 16 pours in a video again is if we get 1,000 likes on this video. And that's totally up to you guys to get 1,000 likes. Glass 16 on the nose. This, wow. Hold the phone, hang the phone up, answer the phone back because that is absolutely delicious on the nose. I get like a chocolate ice cream, like a double Dutch chocolate, a touch of espresso, there's a touch of leather. This is the best nose so far. And we waited till glass number 16 to get to it. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I'm gonna give it a tie for the best and give it a 9 on the nose. Let's see if it can win. Let's go into the palate. It's a very thin palate. It's sweet, it's very approachable. This is very, very approachable, but it's not a wowza palate. This is the way you gotta do it. This is the way you gotta drink me. I am the cream of the crop Buffalo Trace product. And I think on the palate, I'm gonna have to give this glass, because it is not screaming hallelujah, a score of 6. Okay, so we have had every single pour. We've nosed them, we've drank them, we've gave them a score, and we're gonna tally everything up, and we're going to see which ones have come in first, second, and third, and we're going to see if we have to do a tiebreaker. Okay, so here is the sitch. We have 9 glasses that have either scored a score of 15 or 14. We had 2 score 15, and we had 7 score 14. I'm going to fast forward through this part so you don't have to watch this. And I'm going to go through these 9 glasses in the front row, and I'm going to try my best to pick the top 5. Ladies and gentlemen, I went ahead and I just ranked everything 1st through 16th because, hey, why the hell not? I took those first 9, I arranged them how I thought fit, and then I took the back 7, right? Yeah, I took the last 7 and I arranged those how I deemed fit. And here in front of us, we have the final rankings for every single Buffalo Trace product on my shelf. Now, I asked my Patreon members last week to pick which of these bourbons and ryes I thought would come in first place. Now, I tallied up their scores, and their 5th place pick was the Weller Full Proof. In 4th place was the Weller Antique 107. In 3rd place was Eagle Rare. 2nd place was Stagg Jr. And the one that they thought was going to come in first place in this entire ordeal was the E.H. Taylor Single Barrel. Now let's find out if they are correct, and let's find out what came in 16th place. 16th place goes to number 11. And number 11 is the Weller Special Reserve. Now let's find out about 15th place. 15th place goes to number 10. Number 10 is Weller 107. Now that is a shocker. 14th place. Number 1. Number 1 is Blantons. 13th place goes to number 16. Number 16 is Sazerac Rye. 12th place goes to number 2. Number 2 is Buffalo Trace. 11th place goes to number 9. Number 9 is Weller 12. Top 10 and 10th place goes to number 14. And 10th place goes to Benchmark Full Proof. And now we are in single digits. 9th place goes to number 13. Number 13 is Early Times. 8th place goes to number 6. Number 6 is the E.H. Taylor Small Batch. 7th place goes to number 15, which is the Benchmark Single Barrel. 6th place goes to number 7, which is the E.H. Taylor Rye. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in our top 5. And in our top 5, we still have 4 of my patrons' picks. We did lose out on the Weller Antique 107, coming in 15th place. But in 5th place goes to number 5. Number 5 is the E.H. Taylor Single Barrel. 4th place goes to number 3, which is Eagle Rare. And on our podiums, in 3rd place, number 12, which is Buffalo Trace Kosher Wheat. We have 2 bottles left, Stagg Jr. and Weller Full Proof. Which of these 2 has come in first place? We're going to find out right now. In first place for the best Buffalo Trace product on my shelf at the moment goes to number 4. And number 4 is Stagg Jr. Number 2 is Weller Full Proof. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video because it was an absolute blast for me to go through every single one of these bottles in a single video and find out which one of these was the best on my shelf. If you picked the winner, let me know down in the comments below. Or if you picked 16th place, let me know as well. Until next time, this has been Nathan with The Everyday Drinker. If you want another one of these videos, make sure we get to 1,000 likes. I don't know if that'll happen, but that's totally up to you guys. Till next time, it's been Nathan with The Everyday Drinker. Cheers.